You're watching Mallrats, a Star Wars podcast. Thank you for listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mallrats podcast. Thanks for listening. My name is Nolan.
I'm Bob.
And we'll be going over Out of the Desert Comes a Stranger, written by Jon Favreau and directed by Dave Filoni. What's your favorite Dave Filoni film or TV show?
Like, one episode in particular?
One anything.
Oh, man. He was the entire Clone Wars, the cartoons. He was the showrunner. One particular episode throughout that, I can't come up with a favorite. I loved when Darth Maul showed back up in that, since he was my favorite character. Filoni was in charge of Rebels, I believe. Does that sound familiar?
Yep.
So let's say he is. I enjoyed when we saw, different fights, between, Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. I enjoyed, when, Mortis and all of the dark side stuff. I guess so anytime he really goes into the darkness of it, when Ahsoka, fights Darth Vader and busts his masks and see Master, his eyes there, that type of thing.
Very Ahsoka focused.
Well, he's the one who created, that's his baby. Every time that there's been, that's why when we saw with this episode at the end, you see it's Dave Filoni directed it and he got a co-writing credit. He probably was in charge of the Ahsoka scenes or her dialogue. I'm pretty sure anytime she's ever shown up in anything, it was always his writing and directing. So it's almost like he's the showrunner for her, which I do believe, it was rumored that he was going to be the showrunner on her TV show as well. So that makes sense. So, did you have any favorite memories of Dave?
I think really his Rebels series stood out to me. Like you said, I guess it feels like the Clone Wars, but it's separate how it's like one overarching story, which I think is nice for Star Wars to have instead of like I think like Clone Wars is good having a couple episode arcs, but just the overall back to basics, just over everything, just felt better to me.
Yeah. So we know that Star Wars is in good hands when he's, at the helm, and so he and Jon Favreau, they're a really good team because hands down they are fans. You know what I mean? Fans above all else. And so it's pretty fantastic.
So today's episode, obviously, we already talked about it, but we start by closing in on a spice deal in the middle of the Dune Sea, and you see the moisture evaporators, which look a lot like the spaghetti western trope of the windmill spinning at the beginning of a fight scene, and they're just sitting like around a speeder, and the Pikes are here, and they're talking about a Camtono full of credits for this box of spice, which we don't actually know is full of spice, but
we
can guess it's spice. And I don't know how we snuck up on them. You're coming out of the desert.
Well, this was a huge. I mean, this is, to us, this is the episode of fan favorites, right?
Yes.
You can't. I don't know if you can call them cameos anymore, but they did a wonderful job of hiding the fact that all of these big names, especially coming up here in a little bit. But for me, and if anyone's listened to these episodes before this one, Cobb Vanth is one of my favorite. I love Timothy Oliphant, loved him in Deadwood. Justified, he's good in that. He's great in Santa Clarita to Die. He's just wonderful. And so to see him, I'm like, yes, this makes sense, because if Boba needs help, it made sense to me. Like, well, he's already on planet. Why wouldn't he go and get him? And I think I probably predicted him in, one of the earlier episodes. But to see him come in as the marshal, how did he sneak up? I mean, they look around, there's nothing around there. And he stumbles in and, busts up their drug deal.
Just like a everyday old cop.
Just stumbles on their beat.
Yeah, just pulls up. He's not actually really convicting them of anything. Like, I'm just gonna let you go. Just leave the spice here and don't talk about it. because
He knows it's a delicate situation.
yeah, there's no crime happening here, but the standoff, they all edge towards their guns, and
They
then
turn their back to it to
whip
mask.
around. He's
Yeah.
gonna shoot him, and then the marshal Cobb Vanth just beams him down. I don't know how he didn't like even get shot at.
He
Even
shot
like
3 of the 4
yeah,
because they're
I don't.
still pulling their gun out. And he's
I
fast.
don't know. He's just
It's that
quickest,
Western,
the
the
fastest draw
fastest
in the
draw.
West.
Exactly.
He leaves one of them. I'm gonna give you a choice. I knew you were the smart one. He's not gonna shoot him. He's gonna let him go. Just leave the spice here. You don't have any business. And then, like, and then a great line from the Pike that's left standing. This is worth more than your town. So obviously we see that Mos Pelgo, or as we know now, Freetown, is
Yeah.
not very rich, and
Yeah.
just a little box of spice, just how expensive that is to only be like a couple grams of it or something.
Well, this would have been pounds worth, but
Pounds worth
yeah.
of it, but like still.
Yeah, very expensive. Yeah, he actually says, and it's one of those things where you don't kill everybody, you leave one alive to tell the tale, to pass your message
Yeah.
along. And he says, I say this with respect. So he's not telling him, I'm thieving you, I'm going to take everything and kill you. It's just like, if anyone gets lost running spice here,
You'll be lost forever.
you're going to get lost forever. And then the leave the chest, it's a fine. It's a fine for trespassing, is ultimately what it is. So this is, I don't want to say it's his first exposure to it, but I'm not quite sure even where Moss Pelgo is. But if you look back at the Marshall episode, when he's trying to find this
like
Mando,
speeder biking, it's not that far away,
but he doesn't know where it's at. And Pele says, "Oh, it's out there somewhere, but it's not on a map." And so these guys, my guess, the Pikes are trying to find a different route so they don't go through the Tuscans and
yeah.
Boba Fett's terrace.
Even though we see them massacred, I bet the Pikes don't know that.
To see the massacred
The Tuscans.
Well, I mean,
like they warned them about it, but they're dead, but they don't really know.
Well,
about
the
it.
Nikto. I mean, I think it's the Niktos were working. They were the muscle for the Pikes, is what I'm thinking.
That was never confirmed.
It wasn't, but both of them, the
that.
Niktos had a beef with Boba, and the Pikes had a beef with Boba. The Pikes knew that they were already paying tariffs to the Niktos, and now they have to pay tariffs to Boba. When they told Boba that we are already paying with the Niktos, he goes, "You don't have to do that anymore." I'm sure they said something. They could have said something to Niktos about having to pay Boba, the guy who took our bikes. So he did feel responsible and guilty for their death. Now, whether it's the Pikes were in on that or just the Niktos, I don't know. I don't know. So credits. We see the from the desert comes a stranger, which is awesome because right away we're thinking Cobb Vanth coming to save the day, and we'll find out towards the end.
You were wrong.
It's completely different, and it was a wonderful surprise, and the presence of another character who had their birth in cartoons like Ahsoka, and now they get a live action individual or CGI.
First time ever.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So credits, and then we jump into a beautiful planet. I don't even know where they're.
Endor-like, or moon of Endor.
Kind of.
It's not, but it looks like
it's green, it's lush, it's hilly, it's gorgeous. Almost like maybe a Maz Cantata type planet. Where she was at. It's just beautiful scenery. It's not all Kashyyyk Warsher trees and forested. They actually had a bamboo forest and water, and it was just pretty. So Mando's flying around there on a mission, and it confirms what you talked about last episode, where you were thinking he's got to go talk to somebody first.
Why do you think I'm gonna go? I have to go see a little somebody.
Yeah.
Why would you think little friend is talking about Grief Karga?
Well, he's one of them. I'm pretty sure I said Cobb Vanth at one point too, but I just figured we have 2 episodes left, and we need to spend more time with Boba. We can't give too much time off planet going on these other plot points, plot B and C, which is what Mando really is, to the overall scope of the book of Boba. And so I just thought they were just setting us up so that they could surprise us and take us in a different way. So opening scene, when it's Cobb Vanth, I'm thinking, I'm right. I knew that
You're
this.
not right.
Well, but he does show up. He does
He does
go to
show up.
talk to him and solicit. So I was kind of right because he.
Okay,
I'm just
okay.
saying.
I'll give you this one.
And so he goes and sees the little guy. So if there wasn't fan service in the show before,
It's here now.
it's here now. All the way from R2, a drop down tilt
Hmm.
of the camera to see his radar, and then he sits down. Did you have an idea when do you think R2 recognized the ship? Did you talk about the ship last time, about its original owners potentially, or?
Yeah, I did theorize about it. I really doubt that it's going to be the exact
I
same
doubt
one
it's the
that
same one.
Anakin flew. He was with R2 though. He probably recognized like the design because
Any flashbacks, that
yeah,
he had of flying and blowing up
he's
the droid
definitely
ship with
not the
little
kind of
Anakin?
character to mention it.
No, like, hey, I flew in that thing before.
Yeah, you should take me with you. And a small detail while he was getting out, it kind of pans around. I don't know if this is just like on accident, but the way the framing works with the little bubble where the droids go, it kind of while it's waning around, you can see R2D2 like fit perfectly into it,
Oh,
like
really?
through the glass.
Oh,
I
that's a
don't.
great shot. I'd have to check that out. Very creative.
It's very
Small, quick.
iffy. It was probably a mistake, or
Oh,
not a
okay.
mistake, just happy accident.
So we have R2 showing up, and we haven't seen him. We only saw him for a blip, when Luke showed up to take Grogu away. So now all of a sudden we know R2's here. Okay, we're gonna see Luke, and we're gonna see Grogu. So the walking through the bamboo forest, that was kind of pretty. Little ants well, not little, big robotic ants
Hmm.
walking around doing the ant repetition. It's almost like a bunch of Wallies,
Yeah,
where Wally goes around and picks up
all
trash, and
carrying rocks.
and these guys are building. Um, and I thought that was cute. And then they built a little bench for him because
He's gonna be
you're
waiting a
you're gonna
while.
be here a while. And I found that interesting. So moving on to the Luke Grogu scene. It gave everybody what they want. It was very beautiful,
Very
serene.
beautiful.
Thoughts on this one?
Well, first time we see him, we actually hear the Grogu theme, which we heard last episode while he was staring at the little kid Rodian,
Yeah.
and also what we heard while he was giving away Grogu at the end of The Mandalorian. But they're training, they're like meditating almost next to this like frog pond, just in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere on this beautiful planet, and then something breaks his Grogu's concentration, and you look over and it sees this jumping frog, which looks similar to the frog that was jumping around in the kitchen uh, last episode, 2 episodes ago,
In the Boba Fett?
in the kitchen fight,
Oh,
jumping out of the pan.
oh, like the food escaped at that point.
Yeah,
Well,
but
we know that
whatever.
Boba,
Frog.
we know
It's
that
frog.
Grogu's biggest weakness
Frogs.
is his stomach, and whether it's eating eggs or he eats other amphibians.
Anything really frog related,
And
I'd say.
Grogu's scenes, Baby Yoda scenes, were just adorable, and he was cute. And you see him close, he's trying, and then he sees it, and he's still trying, and then the thing will leap past and getting ready to escape, and he snatches it with the Force. He's been practicing. You know what I mean? And we find out that he's Luke's first
Trainee.
pupil, trainee. Yeah. And so he's getting ready to eat it. He levitates it, and you're just like, okay, that's the little kid again, just scarfing on the eggs from Mandalorian. And Luke opens his eyes, and we'll talk more about this later in our Q&A at the very end. But the aesthetics of the CGI of Luke, to me, were just gorgeous.
Mind-boggling.
It really was. And I thought they did a really solid job, in the last time we saw him. But that was before, things change and evolve, right? And you have more information on that later as to why and how. But it was a beautiful, continuous, seeing the acting, and you could see choices being made. And I'm like, but that face isn't real. They're acting through a computer. There's some stand-in standing there doing all
Yeah.
the actions and or sitting there. And it was probably the same guy from Oh, what was that guy's name? He was in the TIE Fighter last
Yeah, TIE
episode,
Fighter last episode.
which made me think, oh, they brought him back for that. It's very easy if he's already on the
Man,
call
I
sheet.
don't know.
You know what I mean?
I
That he
have
can
to
come
look.
back but he wasn't credited in this one, so there's just Luke as as the voice. Um, but he was really trimmed down, and it wasn't Mark Hamill. Um, but so, anyways, that was a beautiful scene, and then Luke reaches out his hand and towards the same pond, and he raises all of the frogs. And just with his hand, and this reminded me a little bit of, not necessarily showing off, but when Yoda lifts the X-Wing, in Empire.
Yeah.
But Grogu wasn't defeated. Luke was defeated. I can't lift it. It's too big. If it failed, that's why you did. Yoda says, kind of paraphrasing. But Grogu actually succeeded with the Force to eat the frog. But little one, look what you can do with the Force. Why one when
I
you
mean,
can do
he
all?
doesn't say that.
That's what his actions are
He's
saying.
implying it.
Because look at the eyes. Baby Yoda is just looking back and forth, and he looks at his own
Just
hand and
wide-eyed.
then looks back at it. There is instruction happening. And I really enjoyed seeing a lot of this, and we'll talk about it at the end, but watching him with this pupil and watching the CGI and the acting and the running and moving around, I would love to see a Jedi or a Luke Skywalker show. And you don't have to recast it with the internet's loves of Sebastian Stan because he looks like Mark Hamill did back then. That can legitimately be done with their stand-in and Mark Hamill's voice, and I would be fine with it.
That would be a tedious show to make,
Well, just
definitely.
maybe, yeah, but I mean, it's successful in Jedi Academy. It's just making a few movies, and you could maybe lead it up all the way. You could maybe have Little Ben Solo show up, and I mean, all those others. Maybe then see the birth of the Knights of Ren at some point. So that's
Way down the
it
line.
would be, but it depends on when you start it. You know what I mean? Because it's 30 years after Return of the Jedi is the sequel trilogy, and we're already 5 years after Jedi. So within those 25 years, it would have to happen, that they show
Yeah.
up. So maybe it's still 20 years down the road before Kylo is born, transformed from Ben. I don't know.
So now we jump back to the Mandalorian. He's laying down on the bench. He
Oh,
hasn't
well,
moved.
hold on, the Ahsoka stuff. I did have one last thing.
What do you mean?
The, you're jumping.
I'm not jumping. This
Well,
is
we're
right
moving
when
ahead.
it is.
More of the training, more of the talking. They went for a walk in the woods, and
All
his
right.
feet are so his strides are so long, and he doesn't slow down. Luke doesn't, but he just lifts with the Force, Grogu, and so he's jumping 6-10 feet at a time so that he can have a conversation with him and not leave him behind. I found that was cute. He talked about Yoda, so he told him that there was somebody else who
He
was like
spoke in
you,
riddles.
spoke with riddles, was very smart and very good.
I completely forgot about
He says
this.
small like you, but heart was huge. He says, have you heard of anyone that's like that from back home? Do you remember home? Do you want to?
I can help you.
Yeah. And then do you have this down? He walks over and touches and helps
Yeah,
stir
I
up a
wrote this
memory.
down. It's just like a quick flashback to Order 66, and he's this Jedi youngling in the temple. Uh, he's hiding behind a couple like Jedi knights, and uh, there's an onslaught of these clones that are like trying to kill them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just gunning down like the Jedi that were in front of him, and then they get past him, and it kind of ends.
And then it ends.
So I'm just, does he get like taken by the clones and not killed? Is there
Yeah.
like another amazing Jedi that comes and saves him? I
But
don't
we
know.
know that he was there
Yeah,
at that
just
particular point.
backstory.
Backstory, there were all these pictures or memes back with baby Yoda before he was Grogu of all the younglings before Anakin killed him. Master Skywalker, what should we do now? And you saw little baby Yoda looking behind one of the Jedi chairs,
There's too many of them.
right? And then we're just trying to figure out, where he was, how did he escape? Now, the next idea is if he's at the academy and if he's still there when Ben Solo becomes Kylo and kills all of them, what happens to him? Does he get killed by Kylo down the road? Is a dark thought to think of. But He experienced Order 66. What's interesting, there were 3 Jedi being shot at by 3 or 4 people at most.
No, there was
There
like
were
a
more
whole.
people, but if you rewatch
Yeah.
it, 3 or 4 bolts of plasma at one time, and they took down 3 Jedi. And it's just like,
Yeah,
oh my
whatever.
goodness.
It's like while watching The Patriot,
Mm-hmm.
just how inefficient it is. They're just standing there like, haha, I've got you now, and they're just standing there in a line,
Oh,
shooting at each
in the
other.
Revolutionary War
Yeah,
type,
yeah, yeah.
or where they line up and shoot across the field at each other. Yeah,
It's just
doesn't make sense. So, anyways, but that's what I want to talk about before we get to the Ahsoka, who was the next big reveal. Had
yeah,
no
yeah.
idea she
I
was going
never
to be
said
there.
Ahsoka. You revealed it.
Well, Ahsoka. So Mando and Ahsoka have their moments.
Uh, he's still laying on the bench after all this time. Probably a couple hours have passed, and then he Mandalorian instincts whips out a real quick blaster, like quickest draw in the West, way quicker than Cobb Vanth was, and he's just pointing at who we think might be Luke because this looks like Luke's camp.
Hmm.
But surprise, it's Ahsoka, which we already know because you totally spoiled it.
Oh, spoilers. Well, this whole show spoilers. So
Spoiler alert.
right.
Um, and then she starts talking about like he asks, "Why are you here?" And she's like explaining everything and how this is going to be the next Jedi school. But she also says that she's a friend of the family, which yeah,
Yes.
we got. I got very snarky at you because you didn't get it, but
Well, I was just still amazed that she was there, and she goes friend of the family,
yeah,
and just
it just doesn't click.
it didn't click that
She was Anakin's
She
Padawan.
was helping out Anakin's offspring,
Yeah,
and so in a way she's kind of like either a big sister
I'd
or
probably say
an aunt. You know what I mean? Of Luke. So yeah. So talking, she was really kind of. He goes, I want to see the kid. She goes, that's why R2 brought you here to me
that. Uh huh.
instead. Man, that droid's smart. You know, he can process intent. Um, but so they're chatting, and he goes, I want to see it. And he goes, well, is it more, are you doing this for Grogu or for yourself? I want to give him this thing.
Obviously
Why?
for
So
him.
he'll remember you? And we talked last episode when the armorer was talking to him and about the jet. She said that the Jedi, are forbidden of attachment. He goes, well, that's against what we do, with loyalty and whatever else he said.
Jedi enemies.
And so, and we said, I remember saying that that's going to be the biggest pain for him is
Leaving Baby Yoda.
sacrificing wanting to be with Baby Yoda for what might be best for Baby Yoda
Mm-hmm.
to go down this path. And ultimately, we see at the end, the choice is going to be up to him, up to
Yes.
Grogu. So, but Mando doesn't know that at this particular time. But again, what I just love is whether it's the music or a slow zoom on his visor, he doesn't have to talk, and you can feel the loneliness.
How he's thinking.
Heck, Pedro Pascal might be smiling behind it just to go against the grain, but it just zooms in, and the music and the lighting and just everything, and you're like, my gosh, that guy is just sad and lonely. Or you can see him being contemplative, of certain things, and that astounds me that they can totally hide one's face, but yet through movie making, they're able to convey such raw emotion.
This episode's full of that kind of stuff, going from Luke completely CGI to this. It's
Well, a CGI face, his body's
masterful.
Yeah, yeah. It's wonderful. Yeah, so they have their talk. He decides. He goes, tells Ahsoka, make sure that he's protected. So he
Give this to him.
give him the little chainmail, which we find out is chainmail. But when he blasts off, heading into the big training scene come up that you can talk about, you see Grogu look over at the ship, which he wouldn't recognize the ship. He wasn't around for the Naboo fighter.
He knows it's him.
But sensing it in the Force, and he does the reaching out the arm again, and it's just adorable. Because that's the first thing he did to Mando when he saw him at the very, very beginning, or at the very end of episode 1 of Mando. He reaches out his hand and he touches him, reaches out too. So the training montage, very very much like what we saw in Dagobah, right?
Yeah.
A lot of parallels.
I don't know if it starts here, but No, that's second. So
I mean, he's in the backpack already, and they're jumping and everything.
is that now?
Yeah,
Okay, so very paralleling when actual Yoda was on Luke's back running
in a
around
backpack when he's flipping
in a
and running.
backpack
Hmm.
while he's flipping and running, to now Baby Yoda in a backpack with Luke, now, running around, jumping, doing what he did in, which movie was it?
It was Empire.
Empire. And a big parallel to that.
Hmm.
And then right after we're done running, we go to this clearing, and he pulls out the floating
The
training
training
zapping
remote.
droid.
Hmm.
And then this part is what I really liked about the episode, which is kind of sad. He just thinks it's a ball, and he just
Oh, he
wants to
just
play
rolls
with
it
it.
away. Well, he likes balls, from
Yeah,
the little
just wants to play with it.
aluminum or Beskar ball, whatever it was. Um, I'm not surprised that Luke is just redoing everything that happened to him because Luke's not a teacher.
Uh-uh.
Luke, he did coach Leia a little bit, which we see in flashbacks in, must have been Rise of Skywalker, where they digitally put their faces over them and made them young again. And in the literature, yes, but from what we've seen here, this would be his first student, and it's the same Yoda species, which we've never established what they are yet or where they're from, which I thought they were going to when he goes, "Do you remember from home? Do you remember?" I'm like, "Oh, we're going
Ooh.
to establish canon, now." So not too surprised. So the training, he wanted to see him jump and he can't jump. So he has the training remote start shooting at his feet and the dude jumps and flips. Very baby steps, but from what we saw when Yoda was fighting Dooku and then Palpatine, how he's nimble all over the
Just
place.
flying around.
This kid ain't there yet, but he's also 750 years younger, so he's got some time, some time. Good, 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 good.
Uh, uh, I think it was right after the backpack scene. They're like scrambling around, and then they go up into the treetops, and they're
Hmm.
like holding there in the bamboo. And then we go off into this beautiful landscape. Rivers going,
Beautiful. And the Star Wars
mountains.
music was playing.
Yeah, it's the when the suns are setting in the original Star Wars.
Just gorgeous music.
If we're all just hanging in the treetops, and it's just so amazing.
It was wonderful, and that's where the music can really pull it back and just tug at the heartstrings, a little bit here or there.
I think now we're going to Tatooine.
Yeah, we jumped to Boba's palace here, but he had one thing that he said because Ahsoka watched him, walked up to Luke watching Grogu jumping over rocks across the river while he was getting shot at. And then eventually Grogu deactivated, crushed it or whatever, and it sunk in the water. And then he lays down. Whenever in Mandalorian he exerted himself in the
So
Force,
tired.
he was tired. I didn't see him. I don't remember closing his eyes and sleep, but he just laid there. And so this is where Ahsoka and Luke got to kind of talk for a bit. Luke says it's more like he's remembering instead of me teaching him, like he's retapping into the
His
dude's past.
Jedi knowledge from being a
it's
young
there, but I just need to help him see it. She goes, sometimes the student guides the master. Sounds like something very prophetic that would have been told to her, whether by Obi-Wan or Anakin at one particular point. He says that sometimes I wonder if his heart is in it, in reference to Grogu. Sometimes I wonder if his heart is in it. And she goes, so much like your father. So, and so that connection.
Yeah.
And then we jump to Fennec, given the play-by-play or State of the Union.
The pep talk.
Yeah.
We're all in Boba's palace now.
Boba's palace.
And Mando's ship pulls into where a couple episodes ago we saw like the big fire spray gunship Liberation.
Not Slave One.
Nope, it's not. And you can still see it in the background for now. And he pulls into like a war room, I guess you could say, with a big hologram that 8D8 is projecting. And the families are around there, and his gangs. Well, I don't know if the families are there, but his the mods are there. Chrysanthemum is there. Boba's there, obviously. Fennec's there.
And Fennec's doing all talking.
Yeah.
Does Boba speak?
Not Boba. No.
Boba does. Boba doesn't show up
Well,
last episode.
he just introduces the Mandalorian.
He doesn't. She goes, and this is Din Djarin because she went and got him. He looks over, Din nods, and Boba nods. He doesn't speak.
Well, I guess this is now where I'm a bit confused because I was wondering earlier, how does everybody know what his name is now? Because the only person who knew his name was Moff Gideon in the first season,
Yes,
because he's like an ex-ISB officer
he just went by Mando.
and knows everything.
Well,
So
remember on Navarro though, only one Mandalorian was allowed out or up out of the covert at a time.
yeah, but nobody knew his name.
No,
So
but he was just the Mando. He was, I guess, the only one bounty hunting. The other Mandalorians maybe weren't, but she knows him as that from their time together, and she was around Moff Gideon, a little bit there towards the end in the scene with when Luke shows up and they're on the bridge together. So I'm sure a lot of this was talked about. You can't give the dark saber to Bo; she has to win it. Fennec heard all of this.
yeah, but I don't. I feel like the name Din Djarin wasn't mentioned.
It might not have been at that particular moment, but she's
as far as we
experienced
see,
stuff.
we don't
She's
know
fought
that
with
she
him.
knows it.
She's fought with him, bled with him, been on his ship, all of that. But yeah, that's intriguing. So it's just not here's Mando.
It's Din Djarin. You all know him personally now.
You do know. You do know.
They need more troops. They need more muscle.
Yeah,
Foot soldiers, as she puts it.
this is her chance to update everybody about get everybody on the same page. But a lot of it's stuff we've already heard,
Yeah.
right? The
A recap,
Trandoshans,
I
the
guess.
Aqualish, those guys are all sitting back, right? And the Clatoonians. So they're just sitting back. The mayor's off world,
He's planned vacation.
the major domo, the sleazy guy goes, he's planned vacation. Okay, I'll be quiet, and she just looks at him. But she goes, yeah, we need, we have enough muscle.
We need foot
with
soldiers.
Chrysanthemum and these guys, but we just need numbers. We need people, and
that's where
Mando gets the idea.
I think I might be able to get some
because of his experience fighting, in the Marshal with the crate dragon.
And now that's the end of that scene. We go flying out with him through the desert, the Dune Sea, the desert. Still, we hear the Marshal's theme from the Marshal episode.
Well, what about the Sandcrawler?
Oh,
we see the Sandcrawler on his way to Mos Pelgo. You see a big skull,
huge skull.
And then it's the crate dragon, and then it zooms out, and it's been latched to the top of the Sandcrawler, and the Jawas are part. I'm like, how did you little Jawas get this on top of your 20-story
cranes or something,
thing? But yeah, so that was a cool moment, and it shows you. I think it helps gives you a mental jog, connecting him back to the crate dragon, back to the guy he's going to be talking about. For those that might have forgotten a little bit, it just helps out.
Yeah. Anyways, Marshall theme is playing while he's flying there, and then he parks his ship, and then the nosy little deputy walks out, and he's like, "You can't park there. You got to park in the flats."
You can't park there.
And I just knew, like, this guy's gonna get shot if he keeps mouthing off.
To Mando?
Yeah.
Maybe. Mando's not there to pick a fight. He's not gonna shoot the law, because he wants to talk to the Marshal. And Marshal walks right around him, and they have a moment that oh gosh, what did they say? I don't think I have it written down.
I didn't think I was gonna see you again.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since you lost the armor. How are you? What are you doing? He goes, well, I'm a little more careful now.
Yeah.
And then he goes, where's the little guy? Gave him back to his family, and he goes, oh, we both lost something we cared about. It was a nice little moment. And then he goes, can I buy you a drink? Yeah. So they go in to drink, and we get another connection to that Marshall episode that we've mentioned quite a bit.
The physics here is not quite.
The Weequay bartender, the bartender behind the bar, okay, who is very, like, they almost look like a shrunken head. They're so tight and leathery. This is by an actor named W. Earl Brown, who was on a show called Deadwood with Timothy Olyphant. And Timothy Olyphant was the sheriff. So like he's here, and like he is on, well, I don't think he's a sheriff, he's a marshal, I think, on Justified, but he's always a lawman type. And so Timothy Oliphant has like the best hair. You know, he's not going to wear some hat or a helmet anymore. But anyway, so it's just kind of a nice little Easter egg for anybody that liked Deadwood. This guy worked with Al Swearingen, the Ian McShane character. And you talked about that you could see some of the rib cage
Yeah,
in being decorative
sort of like laid out like structural beams in the bar.
from
It's
ground to ceiling,
the
right?
huge rib cage of a crate dragon. Probably the one, yeah, definitely the one they killed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they lugged it back or how they got it through that tiny door. I don't.
Piece by piece, put it together. I mean, how do they put a big dinosaur thing together?
Honestly,
Piece by
that's
piece.
not worth it at that point. It's like a
But
put
I
it
get,
outside or something.
but it was so definitive of their city, you know, getting together, you know, bonding with the Tuscans in order to unifying with the Tuscans in order to go take down this thing that was killing their banthas and, you know, putting them at risk and harm as it swam underneath the sands of their town. So it's just something to be very be a part of their memories. So they're talking, they're hanging around, and Boba's just, I need you to lead a garrison. We'll pay you, and he goes, oh man, I don't want to fight. These people don't want to fight anymore.
Boba.
They fought, what's that?
It's
Mando.
Mando.
Did I say Boba? He's going to say Boba in a second. Sorry about that. Mando is talking to Cobb Vanth, and Cobb doesn't want to fight. He goes, we fight. We're all done. They say that the place, as you said, it's called Freetown now. And the
Instead of
bartender,
Mospelgo.
it says it suits us better.
Suits us better.
And then Cobb's like, dude, he goes, well, don't say dude, but he goes, we're square.
Yeah.
You and me.
No more.
You know, we both did favors and helped each other out. We're good. And Boba says, I didn't think that you were one to stand down from bullies. And he goes, there is no easy way to ask for a favor. And that's true, especially for some people who are very proud, maybe not wanting to, not necessarily help other people,
accepting help.
Yeah, they're like, we can do it ourselves. But yet other people come and you're like, do we sacrifice this to help? And it was persuasive enough that Cobb he goes, let me think about it. I'll talk. And we find out after Mando leaves, he goes, we'll call a meeting, right? Tell the weekdays, go call the people so we can have this meeting and they can hear what I have to say. And so we can think, hey, if he speaks, Mando's going to get his troops for Boba Fett. So that's the way that scene kind of ends. Is that how you felt as well? Like,
oh yeah,
it's going to be good for Mando. But Cobb Vanth has to make it to that meeting. And this is where it's almost like there was a shift in winds. Like if they showed the opening scene had the like weather vanes spinning on the top of the moisture evaporators, almost like if there was a weather vane and all of a sudden just switches to another direction. He looks down Main Street and you see this silhouette walking.
Wavy figure in the distance.
Oh,
the true stranger from the desert.
I didn't know what it was, but I sat up in my seat. You're like, I'm like, what is this? And my mind's racing. And as it got closer,
oh yeah,
I knew the long trench coat, the hat, and I'm like, awesome. Because for those that don't know, we have the emergence in live action format for the first time.
Cad Bane,
bounty hunter, hired muscle extraordinaire, who instantly became a fan favorite of myself, and I'm sure you, when he shows up in the Clone Wars with a bunch of thugs doing Oceans type heists and breaking Zero the Hutt out of prison. But there's one of our great episodes that we've talked about off camera was the where he breaks into the Jedi Temple to steal a holocron.
That was such a good one.
This guy is just amazing. Yeah, he's a bad guy and shoots everybody, but he straight up is that Western gunslinger. We'll talk about it in the Q&A at the end, just like we'll talk about more about Luke in the CG there, but Cad Bane's presence. We'll talk more there, but just he is that mythological archetype, character of a man. Well, the man with no name, Clint Eastwood's character.
True Western.
It is, and that's why once Cobb has them clear the streets, and I'm just like, this is great. I'm like, oh my god, wait, Cobb can't die. Cobb has to call the meeting. And so I'm like,
get so stressed out.
Right. And then I'm like, oh my god. But then I was just so happy to see Cobb. And outside of I mean, I wasn't as excited as when I saw Luke Skywalker show up for the first time, but I'll be honest, I was way more excited to see him than I was Ahsoka.
Yeah,
You know,
it's Ahsoka. We've seen live action Ahsoka
no, I'm
twice
not
now.
just this episode, just her in the Mandalorian when she shows up for the
Oh,
first time. It was just a nice
yeah.
surprise to see Cad Bane.
I didn't think they would have like ever done Cad Bane in live action. He just seemed like a cartoons only cool character. It
Yeah.
seemed like too big of a feat to pull off in
I
like
guess
real
it would
life.
be just all prosthetics and it'd be
Prosthetics and
hard.
CGI and it'll look weird and
But I think this is more CGI because they're just credited with Corey Burton, the same
yeah.
guy who did all the voiceovers in Bad Batch and Clone Wars, where we saw him.
Who was he in Bad Batch?
He actually was trying to get Omega because he fought with Fennec in Bespin. Fennec Shand was fighting Cad Bane,
Yeah.
and for little Omega.
I thought Omega was
It's a little girl,
the little Swedish girl.
New Zealand girl.
New Zealand girl. It's all
Yeah.
the same.
Those were the three running around an abandoned Tabana gas platform.
Oh right.
There we go.
I forgot
And he had
was
his
in
little
that.
rocket
Yeah.
boots to save him.
Yeah.
Boy,
That was a good
blew
part.
your mind there.
Well, I forgot.
That's
We haven't
all right.
watched that in forever.
Last summer when it aired. But no, it was wonderful to see him. All CGs. We'll talk again about that later. Our social media manager has her own
Social
opinion
media manager and
on
collaborator.
him not looking right.
Not looking good.
I'm like, well, he's blue. But anyway, so he's talking to, he walks in and talks to Vanth. He goes, whatever Fett is paying you, we'll match.
Double.
Oh, did he say double?
I swear he said double.
Well, match it or double. But he goes, let's play. All you have to do is just do nothing.
Do nothing.
Do not contribute. Just, he said, let it play out.
Just same Boba Fett offer. Just from the other side.
Yeah.
He just offered the
to
families
the three
to
families.
sit.
Stay neutral. Don't participate. Very good. That's true. I didn't think about that. And then, so Cobb asked a question. Then Cad goes, I'd be careful where I was sticking my nose if I was you. Oh, well, is that friendly advice or a threat? Everybody's watching, looking. The deputy, the idiot deputy's kind of starting to slide, down the side.
God, that guy.
And he said, Tatooine's closed for business. So he's speaking not just for Freetown. And this is my thing. When they say Boba is the daimyo of Tatooine, he's only Mos Espa. Well, maybe he has some affiliation in Mos Eisley, but this is a big planet.
Well, I think it's just where it matters. As like,
the main hubs.
The main hubs. You see Jabba in Mos Eisley talking to Han. You can predict he's in Mos Espa because it's so close. But I think if that's all that we've heard of, that's really all there is. That's important.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not gonna
talking to Han in the.
You're not gonna get a lot out of the people in like the Dune Sea
or the little moisture farms.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That's a good point.
It's not really worth it.
But to hear him go, Tatooine's closed to the Pikes. I mean, he's already worn the Pikes before.
Tatooine.
Yeah, that's pretty ballsy. And then Cad goes, you should have never given up your armor. And then does what they do in all the movies, just pull the coat back, the trench coat, or unlatch your holster so you can quick draw. And it's just tense, and they're looking back forth, and you got the idiot deputy off to the side who actually draws Cobb's focus.
And you're just so dumb. Why did you do that?
I liked Cobb too much. I did not want him to die. And so then he ends up pulling. Big shootout. Really fast.
Yeah, very fast. I don't think Cobb actually, he probably shoots a shot or something. Cad Bane, first. The deputy pulls out his gun, doesn't actually get a chance to shoot because Cad Bane, he pulls out his gun. He shoots Cobb in the shoulder, which will be important for one of my points I mentioned later. And then just 4 times fast in the chest, like pew, 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 very fast.
To the deputy.
And he just falls over. He's done. He doesn't do anything.
He took out both guys. And he says
done.
Tatooine belongs to the Syndicate as long as the spice keeps running. You guys will be left alone. So just stay out of this. He's delivered his message. He turns around and walks back out of the desert. So the very beginning, what was it? The stranger.
Stranger, and from the desert comes a stranger.
From the desert comes a stranger. It's like, oh my God. It was Cad Bane to deliver that message. So Cobb, you clearly have a problem with Cobb getting shot. And, excuse me, I can assume you slow-moed it or paused
I slow-moed it.
And so you see, where did he actually get struck?
He gets shot in the left shoulder.
Right shoulder.
Right shoulder. A shoulder.
Above, yeah, so the heart's on the left side. He got hit on the right.
Right shoulder. And that, like, obviously, it could be fatal. It's probably
How?
I don't know.
That's
you
my
could bleed
thing.
out or something.
I'm like, did the pain knock him out? There's no way they're gonna kill him.
And then the people yell for stims, which this
stims
is
to wake him up.
No,
you know, I think the stims are stimulants to help the heart or wake him up, get him going.
I disagree.
Oh, tell me what you think.
Well, you know, I played the Jedi Fallen Order game.
Oh, okay.
So the robot guy, you know, the main character, he like snaps and he's like, "Give me a stim" or something. So and it's like
that's a little BD droid.
Exactly.
From Kelly. Okay.
And then it's just like this little like back to shot or something, like
health,
feel better.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I see. So not just like smelling salts.
I don't think it's just like a stimulant that makes you wake up or something.
Okay.
What?
Well, see, with heart, you know, or ODs, they have something they can adrenaline pump them in, or these shots, you know, that can save them.
If he survives this, he's gonna give out the message, and like getting shot and Cad Bane in the picture. Obviously, there's going to be like, I think Cobb Vanth knew. Well, he didn't know Cad Bane, but this is probably going to like push Freetown to join with Boba.
Oh, it will.
You know, they need protection.
Well, you see the Weequay bartender. He looks at Cobb and he looks up and watches Bane. He's the last one we see.
We need Boba
before it cuts to the next scene. So he'll be the one to put the meeting together.
Yep.
So at least Cobb got, you know, the telephone game. At least he got it passed on to somebody
else.
Even
if he does die, which will suck.
Maybe they have
his
that
purpose
spray.
will be fulfilled.
Maybe they have that spray. It's kind of
the burn spray.
Back to spray. Anything to help his shoulder wound. Or he'll show up in a sling. You know what I mean? But there's just no way he dies from that shot.
I'm predicting he shows up in a sling next episode.
That's what I just said. Yeah, I agree.
I'm saying a sling though. It just seems like something they do.
Yeah.
He's sitting around like the war room, and he's just a sling.
And he's like, I'm as quick with my left hand as my right. Maybe sure shot with your left. But it was wonderful to see Cad. That was nice. And again, being a big Oliphant fan, awesome. And see Luke and see all of these people. It was just a great thing. So we got a couple short scenes to go. And we cut away from the Weequay bartender looking off, and it cuts to Garsa's place.
Garsa flips
the sanctuary.
The sanctuary. Couple Pikes walk in, very suspicious, shady deal. They're walking to their seat. They
carrying what though?
I don't actually see them carrying it.
They're carrying the Camtono.
A Camtono. But
so we can assume if it's the same one from before, I doubt it's the same one, but the one we saw early in the episode, it had money. And this is a gambling establishment. And so there's money potentially in that. Because we've seen Beskar bars in it, and we've seen gold. So it holds valuables.
And then the two people from the first episode, when Boba walked in, like, can we shine your helmets, come up.
The man and the woman Twi'lek.
Yeah.
They've been in almost every episode been in the sanctuary. Yeah.
And then they don't take it off, and then they go back to Garsa, and they're like, nothing. But like, I don't know, like, is that supposed to be some sort of screening method if they're okay or something?
Yeah, I guess just to see
if they're gonna stay.
If they're stay, or did you learn anything or find out anything? Nothing.
Then they just walk out.
Who's they?
The Pikes. They just stand up.
Well, they ordered a couple drinks.
Well, they didn't order anything.
Well, they raised their hand. When the droid came over, can I get you anything? One of the guys raises his hand like he's signaling something. And then that's where we go back and see Garsa with the Twi'leks.
Yeah, and they're like,
and
scared.
Then they get up and they leave, but they left the Camtono.
You forgot your stuff
on the drink, you know. And then the droid with drinks. Oh, you forgot. They forgot there, and you could see she was uncomfortable with their presence. And then the thing says it,
and you're like, oh,
the droid,
no.
And then boom,
huge explosion.
So Garsa's gone.
Yeah,
Sanctuary's gone.
Well, I actually noticed something. In every episode we've gone to the sanctuary, there's been some mention of Max Rebo, but
I have it
now
in my
I
notes.
didn't see him with the
I
band.
rewatched it. It was a different band. It was still some Biff, the big
He's escaped
skeletal.
two big disasters.
That's what I thought. I'm like, oh my gosh, not Rebo getting
Not
exploded
Rebo,
again. But Max Rebo, our blue pianist,
our champion.
extraordinaire. He was not there from what we saw. It was a
Yep.
different band night. But then I put by Garza because I think she's done.
Yeah, no, she's gone.
Yeah, and so then we jump to the last, the building that the robotic ants were creating on the Octo type place. Luke and Grogu are sitting there, and Luke hands him. Grogu says, "The Mandalorian, excuse me, wants you to have this." Oh, great, awesome. No, but before you take it, I will give you a choice. And then he
Yoda's
whips out
lightsaber.
Yoda's lightsaber. How did he get Yoda's lightsaber?
Okay, well, so you know how you made me read the Darth Vader comics?
Did I?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, in the first one, because you wanted me to look at Chrysanthemum.
I probably just suggested, but go ahead.
Whatever. Then you gave it to me and told me to read it. So I read it, and then they mention they're destroying a couple lightsabers, and then they say one of them's Yoda's. So
Who's they?
the people in the I don't know.
I
don't
didn't
know.
read it. Our listeners might not have read it. You can't drop vague pronouns.
You did. You did read it. You told me to read it.
I'm asking you, who was destroying lightsabers?
Vader.
Vader's collecting and destroying.
Yes.
Okay. So how does Luke get Yoda's lightsaber?
I don't know. I didn't go that far.
You got any theories or anything?
Do you
I
have
don't
any
know.
theories?
The last time that I saw
You're the expanded universe nerd.
Yoda's lightsaber, he was fighting Palpatine after Order 66.
Yep.
And Yoda gets knocked down. He scratches himself from a podium. I think he loses his lightsaber there and crawls out through that tunnel into Bail Organa's speeder and takes off. I don't think he has the lightsaber with him. That's why I'm saying I think the last time it's on the bottom of the rotunda of the Senate building on Coruscant. So I'm just curious how Luke got it. So maybe it's answered more in the later comic books.
Put it in his will or something.
In his will, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he got it back somehow. Maybe he had it on Dagobah. So the last time Luke saw him in Jedi, when he's wearing his black, after they escaped the Sarlacc and all that, he goes, "I got to go check on a friend." He goes back and Yoda dies. Maybe the lightsaber's there.
Maybe.
But yeah, so I don't remember it being in the comics, and that's really an intriguing storyline.
Yeah.
Well, you got a little worked up there, dude.
I didn't get worked up.
Yeah.
I was there for the conversation where you told me to read
That's fine.
The one.
I was just asking who they was.
Book.
I didn't know. I don't know where you were going with this.
I swear.
Okay, so he shows Yoda's lightsaber and he says, "Here's this," and he goes, "But you can have one or the other. You can only have
choose a lifestyle."
Which we saw it was the Beskar chainmail shirt or the mithril type thing that we talked about, but you can only choose one. If you choose the armor, you're going to go back with Mando.
Which I want to see, but I know you don't.
If you choose the lightsaber, you'll be my first student in the academy, and I'll train you to be a great Jedi. The only reason I think that Grogu might pick that, he saw what he was able to do with the jumping, with what Luke could raise the frogs, and I don't think he would make the choice just so that he can eat an endless supply of frogs. But maybe something was awoken in his mind, remembered from his time, and can truly, go from there. But he does say that you may never see the Mandalorian again. He doesn't say you will not see the Mandalorian again.
So you probably will.
You can't see it. But he goes, if you pick the shirt, you're going to go away and you're leaving here, buddy. And the training's done. Or you can pick this. I'll train you to be a great Jedi, and potentially, you may never see him again. A short time for you is a lifetime for somebody else. Is the last thing he says.
900-year-old lifespan.
Well, Yoda was. He goes, "Which will you choose?" And that's where we see Baby Yoda, Grogu, just kind of look at the camera, look right at us, and be like,
"You pick. Choose your own adventure."
Choose your own adventure. What? Okay. What do you think And what do you want?
I mean, for a continuing story based on like Mandalorian season 3, he's I think they need to move on to a chapter without Baby Yoda. I think that he's going to stay with Luke and train to be this amazing Jedi. But what I really want is for him to go with the Mandalorian and have this awesome adventure through Mandalore and go reclaim his Mandalore-ness, the caves of
Yeah.
Mandalore.
So all of,
I don't. I it just. I want it. I want more cute
I
Baby Yoda
understand.
stuff.
I would like to see, since you asked me, I
It was implied.
it was. I would like to see they have an opportunity with Mandalorian season 3 to hit the reset button and not have it completely be about, from what it's been the first 16 episodes, protecting this kid. From the end of the first episode where he discovers a kid, he takes care of it, and then trying to find a place for him back to his people. That's got to last some time. Whether he visits him, whether he comes and helps Luke, or I don't know. But I think, and I think it's what I want as well as what do I think. I don't think I
A new
see Baby
chapter.
Yoda in other than maybe little moments like this, and that's why keep Baby Yoda in the Star Wars universe. Give him a Jedi Academy. Give Luke a Jedi Academy show where Grogu can be one of a handful of other Jedi
Yeah,
younglings,
yeah.
Padawans. So I don't think he's gonna pick the chainmail. I think he's gonna pick the lightsaber, and that's really the one that I want him to pick as well.
I I think it would be really cute to see Baby Yoda with Yoda's lightsaber and the
Yeah,
chainmail on.
and I want to see him with chainmail. Yeah,
I mean, he wasted his spear for that, which I that was a pretty big spear. I don't think it was hollow Beskar.
no,
So that
that's
probably
a lot of
I,
little
I
ringlets,
don't know.
and then sit
We
there
only
bending the ringlets.
oh
That'd be a
we
mess.
really only see the armor like heat up the tip
Uh,
of it. So I don't know.
maybe they use. Oh, maybe it
It's
was
just a
just
pole now.
use it. Maybe he said it. Use it for the foundlings. Not that there are any, because they're just the last two,
Three,
three with him now. Yeah, three. But maybe he
two,
had leftovers of that.
two Mandalorians now.
You know, because he got exiled.
Hmm.
When Luke said earlier that I question his heart, Grogu's heart. This is Grogu's test.
Ultimate test.
This is, well, the ultimate for, it's a big choice. What's gonna transpire, what's gonna happen. So, um, yeah, that's the end of that
That's it for the
episode.
episode.
That's it. I can't think of anything else. It'd be cool to have if we were more established of a podcasting at this particular point, throw up a poll or something.
I can do that if you want to on this
Just,
episode.
yeah, if you could put it up in the write up, we can make a Google form or
Oh no no no
something
no! Through Anchor, you can actually
through Anchor.
you can like put up a poll with it.
Just poll. Should Baby Yoda pick Mando's shirt
I'll do that.
or that? You don't have to do it this
I'm
second.
not doing it right
Okay,
now.
well, you sat up straight and
Well,
started
I'm
clicking, so
I'm writing it down so I can remember it.
you'll remember it. We're done. We're almost done. We got to get into our Q&A now.
We're joined today with Kat, who is going to give us a fresh view on Cad Bane.
Hello. So overall, I really enjoyed the episode. It was really great to see Cad Bane and his live actioniness. Although, once his eyes were revealed, I realized that he was less excellent as I was making him out to be. His snout, it's not a nose, is it?
It's not a
his
snout.
muzzle,
It's a flat.
where his nose should be. It's very rounded. It almost needs to be like more hollow, and his mouth needs to be further down his face, because at the moment he looks like a Martian with the.
Hold on. So, do you think Cad Bane needs a nose job? That's what I'm hearing.
There is no nose to have a job
There's
on.
no nose. He just needs not a face lift, because that's the wrong
A
direction.
flattening.
He needs to elongate his face and get like a brow bone implant, because
Why do you say that?
I'm looking at a side-by-side of the Cad Bane from Clone Wars and then the one we saw in the episode that aired yesterday. And he just looks more menacing in the cartoon. His eyes are like half shut. He's very smug about it. But I'm looking at the one from last night and his teeth are jagged, his eyes are buggish, and he just looks like not of this planet, which I guess he's not, but he just looks like he shouldn't look. So,
His
yeah.
eyes are way too big.
Yeah, his bridge, like between the eyes, needs to be thinner. His nose, in quotes, needs to be more triangular. And like his chin, I don't know, they gave him a butt chin. He's got the little chin dimple.
A butt
A butt
chin.
chin! He's got the chin dimple. Isn't that what it's called?
I think
Okay,
it's called a
so
cleft
Kat, were you
chin.
a fan of seeing Cad Bane show up?
I like
Show up?
I like the idea of him showing up. The execution,
Not so much.
not so much, especially when I got to see what they did with Luke. So that
I
was
mean, because as Nolan and I talked about earlier in the podcast, it is straight up the wild, wild west. It's the Clint Eastwood in those spaghetti westerns, the man with no name, him just walking in out of the desert. And it's just that role. He was a fan favorite in the cartoons. And it was very, very interesting to see him strolling and even have the same voice. So I enjoyed seeing him. Yeah.
Yeah, Cad Bane was both the cowboy and the alien in this instance. He just looked too.
I agree.
His face was too round. That's my main criticism.
Well, here's the thing: the Duros. The only time in the live action that I really remember, the first one was in the cantina scene in A New Hope when Luke and Obi-Wan show up. You just see a green one in the background. And now in expanded universe, they're admirals in the military. I mean, there's a big presence of Duros. But this is the same thing that I've been wondering. How would he translate into live action in the same way if Thrawn, I just don't want him to look like he just got blue spray painted like he was on Wicked, and Elphaba has to get sprayed green. I want it to be, not distracted. But this was, I think, a completely CGI character is my guess. One, I just don't know how they would do that with the prosthetics and the mouth and stuff, but and they only credited a voice, so I don't know. But Duros was a character that was teased, when Fennec got shot and we saw Boba's boots. We didn't know it was Boba. There were conspiracy theories that it was Cad Bane back then, and so for the last, gosh, what was that, a year and a half now? People, maybe 2 years, people have been like, oh, if it's Cad Bane, how is that going to look?
Right.
And so overall, yes, his nose, or whatever you want to
Lack
call it,
thereof.
lack thereof, it was a little
Voldemortiness.
wider, and his teeth were real pointy. Now, in your
Yeah.
research or comparative analysis, was his teeth always so pointy? Because Bib Fortuna had pointy teeth. Deveronians have pointy teeth. Did Cad Bane have such jagged chompers?
I don't remember ever seeing his teeth because his snout, nose, flat surfaciness is like very long and his draw almost prevents his mouth from opening wide enough.
That's
But I
true.
do think I remember being a little bit concerned. There was a certain episode of Clone Wars, I don't remember which one it was, but he said something and the corners of his mouth went out and he snarled and you could see his teeth, and I do remember it caught me by surprise.
And they weren't all like
They were
Interview with the Vampire.
sure. They were very like shark-like almost,
Yeah.
and I remember that caught me off guard. 'cause
I know what
thought
you're
he had
talking about.
normal
This
looking
one,
teeth.
he really seemed to open and enunciate a little bit. He seems
Yeah.
like the character who, and he might have had this, but those Westerns who would just have a toothpick in their mouth all the time.
Yeah.
And so you can't open your mouth real big or a toothpick fall out. And so you kind of talk through clenched teeth a bit. And so, but that, yes, I noticed his nose area, but his eyes were nice and wide and unblinking and terrifying. As Nolan and I would have talked about, talk about it a little while ago, it was very much like what you envision those Martians looking like, the little green spacemen. But overall, I was pleased.
Yeah.
I don't know, when they finally gave us the review of his big red eyeballs, it kind of felt like I don't know, some sort of car with big headlights going down the street.
Yeah.
That's not Cad Bane. This must be
but
something
very
different.
much when we talked about Clint Eastwood, his Clone Wars character has to have been modeled after him down to the type of hat,
Yeah.
But Clint is always a very half eyes open, squinty, go ahead, make my day. And so this being the first time we see him live action, I'll be interested to see if they modify that, if they maybe in certain situations of concentration, if they close a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I was into the design of Cad Bane until he lifted his head, and you could see that the space between his eyes was huge. His eyes themselves were huge.
No, I think it was a bit too small.
I couldn't really.
His eyes had to be smaller, and then you would have seen how
I
it would
think
look
they
better.
had to be squinty, which means he needs a thicker brow bone to like hang over them and give them that shade. Plus, he was just too light. Like he was a very like light gray blue, like something that would be in a bathroom. But the Cad Bane in the Clone Wars, he was bright blue to really contrast the dark red of his eyes. So, yeah.
I really compared his skin tone too. At the beginning of the movie Prometheus, that like white baby guy who's like very, very, very like albino. It looks like a sky blue or something.
Yeah.
Like they must have gone to the wrong Lowe's because that's not the right shade of paint.
No, yeah.
Funny. Catherine, any more analysis or discussion on Cad Bane's aesthetic appearance?
I feel like they did the best they could given.
And it's their first time, their first pass at it.
I mean, there was a lot of expectation, especially when there was like a rumor he's going to be in it, or you could see his boot or his hat or whatever was at Mando. So it was anticipated, but not entirely executed as to my expectations. Similar to when they released the teaser for Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie. How he had the really human-like teeth and the tiny eyes.
Uncanny Valley.
And they were all towards the middle of his face, and he was terrifying.
Disgusting.
Okay, Catherine, but you remember that caused a huge problem in social media, and so they
fixed it.
Which is good.
And so maybe you have to lead,
anti-Cad Bane, the ACB.
petition to get Cad's teeth capped and get him a nose job.
Hashtag replace Cad.
I don't need his teeth capped. I just need his face drawn out. His eyes go squinty and his face goes smoosh. Like I need him to be a rectangle.
Gotcha.
Cheekbones and an eyebrow bone. And
gotcha. All right. Well, Kat, thanks for the sharing about Cad Bane.
You're very welcome.
Now we are moving on into our Q&A portion of the show. And last week we had our inaugural question from Andrew, and he asked if we had to recast the Hamilton musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda with Star Wars characters, who would we put in which roles? And Nolan and I participated, but Kat couldn't join us. And so we teased that Kat would provide her Hamilton casting in this week's Q&A before we have a couple other questions to discuss. So, Catherine.
Yeah, regrettably, I don't know your answers because I have yet to listen to last week's episode.
Well, one would think that the social media director of this soon-to-be Pulitzer Prize-winning podcast,
it's already
Ordinary Relaxing Conversation, would maybe listen to the product that you're advertising.
I mean, I trust it. I listened to, I think, the second episode, and it sounded good. I give you my thumbs up. But I just don't know.
You may want to work on that.
I'm not saying this for criticism. I'm just saying this so that I don't say a name and you guys go, oh, that's what I said already. Because I don't know. But I have my list. Are you ready?
Oh, I cannot wait. Nolan, you ready?
No, not really.
Why?
I'm scared.
Okay. So, for Hamilton,
oh my God.
I have C-3PO. Because.
Not already.
Why not? And it would be fun to watch. For Aaron
Burr, wait. We get to comment.
You do?
So you don't get to blaze past this.
Oh, can I?
What
and
song?
Then, like, save all your comments for the end so I can get them in like
There's
one.
There's going to be a lot of comments, so can we just do it?
We'll let you go unless we have like a legit question. Like,
go.
What about Hamilton's persona or 3PO's makes you think he'd be a good fit? Is there a certain song or moment or connection from the play that you think 3PO would be great?
Not?
He's very chatty and he does not know when to stop talking. There was it Nonstop? He's giving his speech like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, something about witnessing history, first murder trial of a brand new nation. And he goes on. And the whole song is about how he's nonstop. So, C-3PO.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, I was just curious. Yeah. I want to know how your mind works.
At least you don't have to pay licensing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you did like 2 more lines, we'd
Stop,
have to
stop, stop.
pay
No, no, no.
Yeah, my
royalties.
2 were out of order. Does that count? Like I jumble some of it. You have to guess what song I'm
I think
singing.
it's still a lyric.
Gotcha.
Okay, for Aaron Burr, I have everybody's favorite, best-selling Jar Jar Binks.
Oh.
Fantastic.
Uh-huh.
I think Nolan, you or I jokingly had him in a role like that.
Oh, really?
No, 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 no. You put him
No?
as General Lee.
Generally. Oh, that's
Whee!
perfect.
Yeah.
The General. Whee!
Okay, now I would be interested to see, Jar Jar and 3PO trying to
Mhm.
duel or,
Yep.
chatting.
Oh, well,
Okay.
speaking of the duel, for the bullet, I have cast Jabba the Hutt.
Okay. So the slowest bullet possible.
Well,
It's
because
the
in that
bullet.
entire last song,
Yeah.
he's like, the bullet's just frozen there, stopped. He wouldn't need to stop. He can keep going and time his arrival at C-3PO to when he gets shot. Like, he doesn't
So
stop
everybody
moving.
else is going half speed.
Oh, yeah.
He's or whatever speed,
0.25 speed.
and he's
He's
going like
sprinting.
speed of light, and it still is slow.
He's trucking across the stage and it's not fast enough.
Okay, I can see it.
His success of the night is, I did it! I made it all the way on my cue.
He's drenched in sweat by
Oh,
the time he's
gross.
done.
He eats a frog. I did it. I'll be in my trailer.
Ew.
All right, who else you got?
For Washington, I have Yoda in all of his 900-year-old wisdom.
Good.
For Eliza, I have Padme. Don't know why. She was just like the last role I had to cast.
Do you have all 3 girls?
I have all 4 girls.
What's the fourth?
This is my point. I'm gonna
Well,
get
the
there.
main
Hold on.
girl from each trilogy.
Oh yeah, hold on.
What do
Hold
you
on.
mean?
Okay.
Okay, so I tried to figure out who his 3 friends would be. I could not find a Lawrence, or a Philip. I guess I didn't think about Act 2.
Gotcha.
Lafayette would be Darth Maul because it's ironic.
Ooh, yeah.
Darth Maul doesn't really talk, but Lafayette doesn't stop.
Doesn't like the French.
Yeah, in the French. Mulligan would be Leia.
Okay.
Why?
Because she's introduced in A New Hope as being the spy, right?
All right. So what's that line? Like, mothers lock up your daughters in horses. Of course, it's hard to have intercourse over 4 sets of corsets.
Yeah, that
You
one.
see Leia as being the womanizer.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this one line that's really hard to memorize. It maybe goes something like this: gets it dead on, and it's 100% accurate.
Stop singing.
Well.
We might get copyrighted.
All right. Next.
For Angelica, I had Rey.
Why?
Because it was process of elimination for this next person. Just
Okay.
because like I had to think of the 4. But for this next one, for Peggy, I put Rose from Last Jedi.
Oh,
I forgot about her.
That's the point. Everybody forgets about her. She's the
Fantastic.
Aunt Peggy of Star Wars.
I like it. I like it.
that's a good pull, kid.
That's my Peggy. And then Bullet's Jabba. So I really only thought about Act 1. I guess.
As
Did you Jefferson? You got Jefferson?
I don't know.
Smooth operator.
Just do Lando.
I was thinking along the lines of just like, who would I cast as David, and he would play both roles. Like that's what I did.
Donald Glover.
No.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No. So I gave that's my cast. Done.
Okay.
I don't think
Very
we have too
good.
many
Well,
more
maybe
of
you
us.
can
Mic drop.
listen to what Nolan and I said last week, and
I
Just
probably
give
maybe
me
should.
have
it's
comments
okay.
on
Probably
that.
should. It's a good
You can
idea.
let us know.
Okay.
All right. So,
Social media
Kat, we have a
manager.
couple questions, in the pipeline for today, brand new opportunities. Why don't you hit us with the questions?
We do actually. This first one is from. Oh, sorry. First one is from Noel. He said it's a show focused on Boba Fett. Why are the last 2 episodes about the Mandalorian?
I actually have a direct response to this because I read this.
You have a direct response?
yeah,
All right, go.
So, every time you read a book, there's more than one main character. There are side stories, there are sub-stories or subplots, there are hidden messages, hidden themes, hidden everything, and the title says it. It's the book of Boba Fett. Sure, it is based on him, but like like the Tom Sawyer book, right? It's not just about Tom Sawyer. It's
Yep.
also a story about Huck Finn
Yep.
and how they're like together. So you see in The Mandalorian how the Mandalorian and Boba Fett work together, and now you see how Boba Fett works with the Mandalorian as sort of the boss compared to how the Mandalorian was.
Besides, I just think for the sake of variety, I mean, did you want another 2 episodes of Boba Fett just going up to people and saying, I'll give you money, you come fight the Pikes with me?
Yes.
You did? Really?
The show's about him.
I mean, we kind of saw how it went already. He offered money and they said, yeah, why not?
Well, not
Yeah,
to join him.
Nolan, I think that's a really solid response. That's kind of along the lines where I was going. The book that just jumps to mind, whether it's Jurassic Park or Dan Brown's Angels and Demons, the main characters, are not in they're not driving the story in every chapter. There could be a rotation in Angels and Demons. The assassin is, not a little bit more in the supporting actor to it or contributor, and that individual, it's a first person from his perspective every so often throughout the book. And so while and we discussed this in the last episode, about how much 7 episodes, and now that we've gone through 5 and 6 with Boba not doing anything, I'm trying to think if he even spoke in this one. I know he looked over at Din and nodded, but his plot is going to have to come full circle, and at some point we had to spend time bringing these people along. Now, would I have rather had all Mando in next season? We got a Mando coming, but with him being a big contributor, and now with all the cameos and new and old characters showing up, it's been kind of worth it to me. And especially since at the beginning of this series, we didn't know what to expect, and it took 3 or 4 episodes for him to be done with his flashbacks.
I think it was
and
5.
So now it's all present day, present time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All caught up.
All right. So we have got one more question from Bryce. He says, what did you guys think of Luke's appearance in this episode versus his appearance in the finale of Mando Season 2, as far as CGI quality, voiceover, etc.?
Kat, what do you think?
Oh, I have a lot to say about this. I enjoyed it so much more this episode, only because when someone is CGI'd in that doesn't look 40 years younger anymore, Mark Hamill, then I automatically go to like anything about their face. I look for their mouth, I look at their eyes, and his mouth in the finale of Mando wasn't great.
It's like robotic.
It was very robotic, and I remember hearing, I think you may have said it at some point, Nolan, that he looked great, he was so good, or actually, Bob, probably you. It was so good, he looked so great, looks just like Return of the Jedi. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
Not at all.
You could have said that about this episode, but not the season finale. This episode, he looked fantastic. He looked like his hair was better, his skin looked more realistic. His mouth, although still a trouble area, but that's always going to be a complication when animating over something.
I know we already talked about this in the episode, but the reason why it looked a lot better is because they hired a YouTuber named Shamook. I think that's how you pronounce it, Shamook, whatever.
Shamook.
They hired him because he did this amazing deep fake and put it on YouTube, making the finale of Mando just like 10 times better, and it just looked amazing. So he worked on this and made it better. Obviously, the mouth is like still a bit of a problem, but you can't really emulate a real human's mouth as well using like CGI and deepfake technology. But it really looked good, but there was still that uncanny valley there. Like it's not quite human.
I have a very simple solution for not noticing the mouth. Turn on the subtitles and read. You don't have to watch his mouth. You can just read the subtitles.
That's my favorite solution.
I think his hair was a little shorter than it was in Return of the Jedi.
Maybe
That's
he cut it.
That's probably just so they can accurately scan the actor's face and get that deep faked or however.
Could be.
Magic.
Well, my opinion on it is that this is an ongoing technology that the reason I think, and Kat, you've even mentioned with the previous iteration of Luke, that it was just a little bit off here or there in the Mando. This one I thought was phenomenal. We got kind of burned in the past when they tried with Princess Leia at the end of Rogue One, when she's been given it, and it just looked weird. Tarkin, even in that one, I thought Tarkin looked pretty good. The more I've seen it, his eyes were good, and you're right, the mouth is off a little. I didn't notice that with this. I was happy to see Luke, and really from an acting perspective, go back and watch the scene where he's watching Grogu with the frog, and then he looks over, and then he looks back at Grogu, and then he decides to lift his hand up and the frogs go to the sky.
That's cool.
There is acting happening there with a 3D CGI'd face that I could not tell the difference.
Yeah.
I was blown away with this, and it makes me want to see a show of this Luke now, call it Jedi Academy. And the way that he ran, the way that he flipped, we saw lightsaber movement, we saw force, we saw acting up close, engaging with other people. And it's not Mark Hamill standing there, it's got to be him just as a voice. So it must be that other standing guy. And it works. I was looking at this thinking, I can't believe it's been 40 years. And he looks exactly the same. So whether it's just this YouTube guy or they got a whole bunch of other deep fake people in there, it was a noticeable difference than the Mando, but I still think the Mando looked great. And plus it was the surprise and everything, from the rescue. But where it went, I didn't notice any mouth things. I was looking at his eyes, focusing on the actions. His hair looked great, whether that's computer generated on there, but the way it capped over his ears, like in the early 80s stuff. So to answer Bryce's, I was blown away by it. I don't know the ins and outs of how to do all of that stuff, but I'm just basing it on the progression of what we saw from Rogue One when they were really kind of pioneering it, replacing, people's faces, to where they've gone now. I think it's phenomenal, and that's only been 5 years ish. And so I really think that they could take this to the next level and make a whole show with Luke, and that would be amazing. So that's what I have to share for Bryce's question.
Is that it for all the questions?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, but before we sign off totally, we started this off last week with the what if, which is based on in the same way of the Marvel show, the cartoons, and I think what last week was if Leia and Luke as babies had been flip-flopped, where Luke became the prince of Alderaan and became Luke Organa, and then if Leia had stayed on Tatooine or been put on Tatooine, how would that impact and change things? So it's just that type of thing. So we just share one or two and comment on what that would look like.
I actually was thinking about this a little. What if Obi-Wan didn't have the high ground? What if Anakin won that battle on Mustafar and Obi-Wan was left in the lava? What would have happened?
So Anakin yells, "I have the high ground."
Not necessarily, just metaphorically. Just
Yeah.
because that represents winning almost, like the king of the hill. So
Yeah.
what if Anakin was the one who flew off Mustafar at the very end and Obi-Wan's been left like Gollum?
Or he cleared him with his flip and landed over and then pushed Obi-Wan into the...
Either way, Obi-Wan's dead. What happens next?
Well, really the only problem is Leia and Luke aren't dispensed to the parents. Padme might not have died if he went and tended to her wounds or something.
If he could find her?
Yeah, use the Force and save her or something. But
she's still on the ship.
Oh, she's on the landing platform, isn't she?
She's on the landing platform, and nobody takes her to the doctor if
3PO
Obi-Wan's
and R2
dead.
could, because they're there, right? On the ship?
I don't think C-3PO is going to fly the plane.
R2 can.
Well, that's...
Not a plane, but yeah.
He knows how to use the Force, so he can, I don't know, find Padme or something.
So then...
And save her, and then they'll be happy together in the Darksidery.
Yeah.
The dark side could keep her alive somehow.
He wouldn't need to be Darth Vader.
Make her Darth Vader.
He's already Vader, though.
Well, but he wouldn't need the mask and his cape and the very dramatic cape blowing out of with the Force.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very fancy.
Oh, that's a good one, Kat. The one I came up with What if in Phantom Menace, say Bulba wins the pod race? Remember, they had bet everything. They bet the Naboo ship, and to get Anakin's freedom, to get the hyperdrive parts. What would happen? What would happen the rest of the movie, and then how does that impact the rest of the trilogy or saga, do you think?
Anakin would stay there with, what's her name, s1e? He'd stay there with his mom, right? He'd never be a Jedi. He would never end up on
There'd
Mustafar.
be no Vader.
There would be no Vader, but there would be no Luke and Leia. There would be no reason to save the galaxy.
Okay, well, I guess that's taking it. Yeah. But in the immediacy of it, they still have to escape. Do they steal? Do they, you know what I mean? Make a deal with Jabba?
You're saying they escape somehow. It's just not because he wins the pod race?
Yeah, I guess. How do they get off planet? How do they keep the story going?
Qui-Gon buys them, or like gives Watto an alternative slave or something. I don't know.
Because I don't know. Because
give him
Maul is showing up in a little bit. Darth Maul is tracking him down, and he's there right when they get back to the ship.
Offer him to Watto. He'd be a hard worker, I think. I don't know how Darth Maul. I don't know how well it'd go down. But...
Well, Darth Maul hasn't gotten at them yet because that was happening.
Yeah, yet.
They would have been killed if they can't get off planet. He would have found them with the scouts, and they wouldn't have been able to jump out of there.
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan could have left, but Anakin would still be there. And s1e would never die, right? She wouldn't have been taken by the Sand People?
Yep. Watto wouldn't have sold her to, was it Klieg Lars? He wouldn't have sold her off.
Nerd.
She wouldn't have met him.
So he wouldn't have gone dark and, killed all the Tuskens.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was a key story point, though. So really, we're saying no Vader, nothing bad other than Palpatine.
Well, he might have found some other way, to go dark. But the one about his mother, he's a mama's boy if there ever was one.
Oh, 100%. He's got mommy issues.
So that's just one of those that it's kind of fun to think about how, like a butterfly effect or a bunch of dominoes, how changing it up can modify some things. So, good. Any last things, guys?
Actually, I had another what if scenario.
Oh,
I guess since we're sort of staying in the prequels now, on the big arena fight on Geonosis, what if Jango Fett actually beat Mace Windu? So I don't.
Okay.
So basically, Jango Fett wouldn't die, and Mace Windu wouldn't expose Chancellor Palpatine to the rest of the Jedi. That's basically what I'm thinking at this point.
Okay, well, the motivation of how would Boba be different? He didn't lose his father, at least at that particular moment. Being traumatized as a child.
Yeah.
How would that change things up?
Ooh.
It would change it.
Don't
know.
I don't know how, but it would.
This
did
is
you
why
say
we leave
that
it for the what if writers?
Did the clones still win, and he escapes, or did that change the whole battle?
I don't really think it matters if well, yeah, of course they'd swoop in, but just if they won and then they ran away, they didn't get blown up by all the clones.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think plots get changed too much because Mace Windu dies eventually. The only thing his death does at that point is it kind of postpones Anakin's thinking about going to the dark side. Not by very much, maybe by 45 seconds, but he's got someone fighting for him.
I don't know. I don't think he's necessarily dead because we see that people block their falls all the time, like in
who? Mace?
He lost an arm, got shot.
Oh, get off it!
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In Last Jedi, in the rain fight on the
Camino.
He got electrocuted and shot out of a skyscraper.
It doesn't. He's a Jedi. He is the Force.
Oh my
Didn't
lord!
Obi-Wan do that? He jumped from ship to ship and attacked the clones.
All right.
Anakin
so you got this
flying
armless
off the other ship, and then he lands on the thing, and he doesn't die.
But he didn't get shocked and lose an arm beforehand.
Doesn't matter.
It's like
he
if
didn't
Luke
die.
somehow landed on ground after losing an arm. But he gets shocked, on the way on Bespin. On his way out, he gets shocked, loses his hand, and lands safely. That's what you're saying about Mace Windu.
I mean, you can use we see people use the Force to repulse themselves from snapping their necks.
At that point, his body's gonna be in shock.
Whatever, he's still alive.
He's had dark side electric energy in him.
Okay, I guess to be fair, if Darth Maul can come back after being bisected,
Yeah.
I
He's
guess.
a spider now.
I don't know.
I guess Mace Windu could come back.
I never really. I thought that was lazy writing, bringing Darth Maul back like what twice? He came back with spider legs and then with human legs.
Well, whatever. It was a good storyline for
Yeah.
Clone Wars to take.
I enjoyed him and Kenobi duking it out on Tatooine, right? Or was that Rebels?
It was Rebels, but Tatooine. I do hope that at some point when somebody dies, they can stay dead.
Yeah.
And
it's Disney now. That's not gonna happen.
yeah,
Nobody
we'll see.
stays dead.
Well, hey, I didn't see you complaining when Han
We'll see.
Solo's Force Ghost showed up.
Well, he was a projection, not a Force ghost. Leia manipulated the Force to have him
Same
show.
difference.
It was Kylo Ren's brain.
He was still dead.
I saw tears. You cried
I was
a
crying.
little.
You
I was
cried like
crying. It
3
was
times
gorgeous.
during that movie. It wasn't
So,
even
Hey,
sad.
kid. Hey, kid. And I was like,
Honestly,
oh my
I cried
God.
a little, but I don't think that you should
Oh my God.
say that. You should just stay dead because you would have lost that moment. You would have lost.
That's true.
Has Luke come back? Did Luke come back yet as the Force
What do you
Ghost?
mean Luke is dead.
Or that scene when Rey is like losing all hope in the end. I forget what that third movie.
He died at the end of
Last Jedi. He died. What was the third one?
Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Right. Yeah, Rey's laying on the ground after that. Kylo Ren's just been thrown off somewhere. And, like, you hear the voices of Jedi. Are you saying they should have stayed dead and that should not have happened at all?
They were dead. All of them were dead.
They're Force ghosts.
They're Force
Right.
ghosts. They're projections from the Force.
So you're saying stay dead as in not be alive again?
Not Mace Windu.
Wait,
walk through the
wait.
door.
Here's kind of a plot hole that I'm trying to get to now.
Uh-oh.
Because in like the original trilogy, we learned that like quote unquote Obi-Wan like discovered how to become a Force ghost. But then how are all those other quote unquote Force ghosts, as you're claiming them,
The
show up
voices.
and then before like Obi-Wan?
Because they knew how to do it, right?
How do they know how to do it? Because he discovered it. There are like these
Wait,
ancient
wait.
Jedi that are showing up.
What Force ghosts? That we haven't seen Force ghosts.
Oh,
Those were
are we-
just
have we moved on?
Callings, voices. Okay, they're not
Whatever.
physical manifestations of Obi-Wan walking through Dagobah and sitting down and talking to Luke.
Still a
you
Force
know.
projection though.
That
Oh,
it's not a
That's-
projection. It's not Kylo how he goes. That this is there's no way you can do this. How are you doing this?
Yeah.
The effort would kill you. It's
doing
that
this?
was Snoke, and then Luke does it and it kills him. So those are different. And Leia does it and she dies. That's I think different than what every time we hear somebody's voice,
Super Leia.
it's not necessarily a Force ghost or projection.
Should be.
All right. Good. We got to wrap on out of here. My battery's dying here. Thank you all for listening. I can't wait for the finale next week. I can't believe we got to the finale. If you ever have any questions or want to reach out, to our social media correspondent, Catherine, you can reach us at Gmail at mallratspod@gmail.com.
Why don't you let the social media
Instagram.
person talk about
Yeah, can
our
I plug
social
it?
media?
Oh, as long as you're quick, no problem.
Thanks. On Instagram, follow us at @mallrats, spelled like the podcast, @mallratspodcast, and on Twitter, @mallratspod. No cast, just pod.
And if you couldn't hear Bob already, our email is mallratspod@gmail.com.
You guys are so smug sometimes.
You got it wrong last
Yeah.
time!
100%.
Whatever.
Well, I apologize for stepping on your job responsibilities.
Thank you.
Kat.
Well, that's going to be it for us today. I'm Nolan.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Bob.
Thank you for watching, listening.
Listening.
You're gonna make fun. You're gonna make fun of me for
So
that.
smooth.
I didn't say that. We'll edit that.
Dad, you called me sweetie.
He closed his laptop.
Doesn't matter. You called me sweetie.
You called her sweetie. She called you Bob. You wiener.
Yeah. Take a hint.
That's what I.